Hi friends, and welcome to today's class. For today there are no props needed, so whenever you have your space to practice in, go ahead and meet me in a comfortable seated position. And when coming into your seat, go ahead and allow whatever leg comes naturally, allow that to be in front because we will be switching sides in just a little bit after we find some movement here in our space. So as you begin to settle in, go ahead and anchor down through your sit bones, growing tall from the base of the spine all the way through the crown of the head. Palms rest on the knees, and then eyes begin to soften to a close. Keeping that height within the back body. Maybe flicking the tailbone back behind you to really anchor into your base, anchor into your space here. Shoulders resting down and away from your ears. And just beginning to tune into your breath, arriving into your space. Feeling the rise and fall of the chest, of the belly, and start to use that breath to come into a seated cat-cow, inhaling, pulling the chest forward. Exhale, rounding the spine back behind you. And then finding some rhythmic motion, moving to the tune of your breath. Inhaling, pull the chest forward. Exhaling, rounding back behind you, hiding the heart. On the inhale, the gaze lifts, chin lifts. Exhale, chin tucks down and in towards your chest. And then start to take this movement into big circles, moving from the right to the left. Just bring the chest forward, bumping the rib cage over to the right and back, over to the left and forward. And creating more and more space with every round, making your circles a little bit bigger. Like you're creating an orb of energy around you, really swirling the energy, building heat, and then start to reverse your movement, moving over towards the left. Feel free to shift your weight over your sit bones, creating a little bit more freedom. You don't have to stay anchored in. And creating energy that feels good, and then start to roll that energy all the way back in towards center, finding a tall spine once more. Really lifting through the chest, finding lightness, finding height within the spine. And then go ahead and switch the cross of your legs, bringing that opposite leg forward. Maybe coming into a half lotus if that feels good, if you feel open within the hips. And then reintegrate, resting the palms back onto your knees, closing the eyes. And then coming back into that seated cat-cow, inhaling as you pull forward, exhale as you round back. Really finding some movement within the spine, moving all the way through from the pelvis, through the neck and the head. Inhale, pulling the chest through as you flick the tailbone back behind you. And then exhale, scooping that tailbone back and underneath as you round the chin in towards your chest. Moving with the pace of your breath. And then start to find those circles, those barrel rolls once more, moving from the right to the left. Stirring that energy back up and creating a big orb around you. Really finding some space now through the back body, through the side body. Pausing in spaces that feel good, that need a little extra attention. And trying to find some freedom with these movements. Really explore your space. And start to swirl that energy again back towards center, finding that tall seat. Finding that gentle lift to the chest, lift to the chin. And then unravel the legs, coming into a tabletop position. And once you find your space here, keep that movement flowing, that weight shift forward and back, keeping the toes tucked, working into the soles of the feet, into the toes. And incorporate that movement of the spine, waving forward and back. And warming up the body in a way that feels good, that comes naturally to you. Don't overthink it. Feel free to find barrel rolls here or just keep that energy flowing forward and back like waves. hitting the shore, and then settle into your center. And go ahead and flip the palms, spinning the fingertips out and around and back towards you so they're facing your knees. And find a gentle shift here, working into the forearms, into the wrists. Finding an opening throughout the entirety of the arm. And then come into your tabletop, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. We're going to find some cat-cows here if this position feels good. Otherwise, you can bring your fingertips back to the top of the mat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, rounding into cat. Inhale, lifting the tailbone, letting the belly fall, pulling the chest and heart forward, really opening through the shoulders. Exhale, round. Chin tucks in towards the chest. Inhale. Engaging the back body, opening through the heart. Exhale. Hiding the heart back and towards you. And then come back to a neutral tabletop. Go ahead and bring those fingertips back to the top of the mat. With the belly button engaged in towards the spine, lift the right arm forward, left leg back behind you. Creating as much length as you can, really reaching through the fingertips, reaching through the tips of the toes. Keeping that left hip down towards the mat. And then bend the heel in towards your bottom. Go ahead and grab hold of the outer edge of the ankle. Finding an engagement within the back body, opening through the front body. Creating that connection, left to right, right to left. Go ahead and release your hold. Right hand comes back down to the mat. Spin the right toes out. Left leg drops back down behind you, coming into gate pose. Really reaching through those toes. Trying to create as much length as you can through the entirety of the left side. Really trying to expand your space. Come back to center. Keeping the left toes back behind you. Just start to rock forward and back, creating space within the back line of that left leg. Lingering in spaces that feel good. Then bring the left knee to meet the right. Switching sides, reintegrate strong through the palms of the hands. And then reach the left arm forward, right leg back. Again, really reaching through the tips, really creating that long line of energy from the fingertips to the back line of the leg. Bend the right heel towards your bottom. Go ahead and grab hold of the right ankle. And then kicking into the hand, really try and create that opening through the front body, engaging the back body. Trying to create that connection. And then go ahead, release that hold nice and slow. Left hand comes back down to the mat. Spin the left toes out. And then really reaching all the way through the right big toe. Trying to find that expansion through the side body. Staying lifted within the right rib cage. Come back to center. Right leg is long back behind you and continue to that rocking motion forward and back. Working into the back line of that right leg. Staying strong within the palms of the hands, the heels of the hands to stay lifted within the upper body. And then go ahead and bring the right leg to meet the left. Toes stay tucked. And lift the hips up and back downward, facing dog. Settle into your shape, make any adjustments that you need, and start to pedal the feet out one side at a time. And feel free to explore some space within the side body too by bumping the hips side to side as you explore the bends in the knees. Waking up the hips, waking up the back side of the body. Pressing through the heels of the hands a little bit stronger, pressing the heart down towards the earth. Feel that opening. And then inhale, bend the knees. Exhale, ripple that energy forward, finding a spinal wave all the way up to high plank. Take a pause, soften the knees, hips lift up and back, downward facing dog. A few rounds here. Inhale high, up onto the toes, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Ripple that energy all the way up to the top of the mat, coming into high plank. Unraveling one segment at a time, then soften the knees, hips lift up high and back behind you, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, knees bend, gaze forward. Ripple that energy all the way to the top of the mat, high plank, integrate, pause. And then on the next exhale, soften the knees. Hips come up and back, downward facing dog. Settle into your center. Inhale, right leg lifts up high, staying strong within your shape. Soft bend in the left knee as you drive that right knee up towards your right tricep. Right foot comes outside right hand. Coming into a low lunge, allow the hips to settle in, fall heavy, finding length within the left hip. Drop the back knee, reach that right arm forward to create that space for yourself. And then on that exhale, reach the right hand back behind you as the left heel comes in towards your bottom. Make that connection, tapping palm towards the sole of the foot. Reach back forward. Bring that right rib cage inside the right leg. Open back up, find that spin. Right hand, left foot. Reach forward one more round. And exhale, open. Make that connection. Maybe find that hold if it's accessible for you. Spinning the chest open towards the right side. Come back into that low lunge, lift the back knee. Right leg lifts up and back, three-legged dog. And then opening the hip. Really reaching through those right toes up into the space back behind you, opening through the front of the hip. Return to downward facing dog. Close everything off. Left side. Inhale, left leg lifts. Soft bend in the right knee as you drive the left knee up towards your left tricep, softly landing the left foot outside the left hand. Stay lifted in your shape. Allow the hips to fall heavy. Feel that space. Feel the length within the front of the right hip. And then softly drop that right knee straight down to the mat, keeping that opening. Reach the left arm forward, tucking the left rib cage inside that left thigh, and then spin everything open, tapping the left hand to the sole of the right foot. Come on back. Create that space for yourself. Tuck the left rib cage in, and then open up, spinning the chest towards the left. High five the sole of the right foot. Come on back to the front of the mat. Reach and open. Find that connection, maybe grabbing hold of the outer edge of the ankle, finding that connection. Unravel, lifting the back knee. Three-legged dog. And then opening the hip, reaching those left toes back into the space behind you and pushing that left hip point forward, trying to open up as much as you can. Three-legged dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, soft bend the knees, gaze forward, ripple that energy forward once more. Spinal wave, high plank. Integrate. Soft bend in the knees as you reach the hips up and back behind you, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Opening the hip, reaching those toes back behind you. And then come back forward, driving that right knee to the right tricep. Right foot comes outside right hand. Find that low lunge. Drop the back knee. Reach that right arm forward. Create length within that right side body before you twist and open, finding that connection. As you bring the left heel towards your bottom, finding that twist. Unravel, right hand comes back down to the earth. Lift the back knee, find that low lunge once more. Exhale, extended pyramid pose. Right toes lift up towards the sky. Chest continues to reach forward, and keeping the length within your shape. Rebend that right knee. Three-legged dog, right leg lifts up and back behind you, and then reaching those right toes back in space. Reach, 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 open the hips, and then allow those right toes to come down to the earth, coming into wild thing. Or you can stay in that hip opener if that feels good for you. On your next breath, go ahead and close everything off, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward, ripple that energy up into the top of the mat, high plank. Integrate nice and strong. Bend the knees, hips lift up and back behind you, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg lifts. On that exhale, reach that left hip open, reaching those toes as strong as you can. Find that hip opener. Square the hips back off. Drive the left knee towards the left tricep. Softly land that left foot outside the left hand. Low lunge. Drop the back knee. Reach that left arm forward. Tuck the left rib cage in. Spin and open. Find that connection. Right ankle, left hand. Find that twist, twisting through the belly, trying to stay broad within the collarbones. Unravel, left hand comes back down to the mat. Lift the back knee. Sit the hips back in space, extended pyramid pose. Keep the length. Letting that right heel fall heavy. Left toes lift towards the sky. Spine stays nice and long as you reach that tailbone back behind you. Rebend into the left knee. three-legged dog. Reaching the left toes over towards the right. For a moment, find that hip opener. Drop those left toes if you'd like to open up into Wild Thing. Really finding that expansion through the front body, pressing those hip points up to the sky, reaching that left arm long. Square everything off, come back to downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, drive that right knee to the right elbow. And then bring that right ankle over towards the left wrist. Coming into pigeon pose. And stay high in the hips here. Don't allow that right knee to fall just yet. Explore your shape. See where you're at today. And then go ahead and drop the back knee and start to settle into your space. If you have props here, you can always prop the hands up to bring the floor to you, or you can slide a blanket underneath that right hip. Again, whatever feels good for you today in your shape. And you can always stay high in the hips. You don't have to drop the back knee. If you enjoyed exploring the space in that capacity. Wherever you are, stay lifted. Continuing to aim towards squaring off the hips, exploring the depth. Maybe walking the back toes a little bit longer back behind you. As you begin to explore more space. And then keeping the spine long, go ahead and tilt the torso forward over the front shin. Keeping the crown of head nice and long. And if you'd like to rest the forearms in front of that right shin. Or you can bring the forehead to the backs of your hands. Again, however you're able to create space here in this moment. And then go ahead and, if you folded forward, walk the hands back, tuck the back toes. Lift that right knee. And then keeping that cross, go ahead and sit the hips back in space like you're coming into extended pyramid pose. Feeling the sensation within the outer lining of that right hip for a moment. And then go ahead and bring that right leg back and up behind you, three-legged dog. Find that hip opener once more. Square the hips off, downward facing dog. Reintegrate into your shape. Inhale, left leg lifts. Exhale, drive that left knee to the left elbow, and then bring the ankle over to that right wrist. Stay high, stay lifted. Allowing that left knee to fall heavy. And then eventually bringing that right knee down to the mat. Exploring a little bit more depth in your shape. Again, staying lifted here to start. Slowly walking the right toes long back behind you. Creating space within the front of that right hip as we find a little bit more depth within the left. Incorporating whatever props you may need here in this moment. Knowing that every day we come onto our mat, our body shows up just a little bit differently. And especially in these deeper poses, day to day, can be a little bit different, a little bit more restrictive. Be okay with the changes. Be okay with the subtleties, the differences, and modify. Go ahead and fold forward over that left shin if that feels good. Keeping that right leg long back behind you. Allowing tension anywhere else in the body to settle, remaining focused on the sensations deep within that left hip. Staying as light and long and lifted through the spine, through the torso, as you settle into this shape. And then walk the hands back, Lift the back knee, keeping that cross of the left ankle over towards the right, and set the hips back in space into that extended pyramid pose shape with a deeper sensation within the outer lining of that left hip. Left leg reaches back and long behind, three-legged dog, and then opening that hip once more, reaching the left toes back behind you, being expansive. Square the hips back off, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees, gaze forward. Round and ripple the spine all the way to high plank. Pause and integrate, feel that strength. Bend in the knees. Sit bones, tailbone lifts high back behind you, downward facing dog. Inhale, heels lift, knees bend, exhale. Round and ripple forward, high plank. Integrate. Bend in the knees, lift the hips, downward facing dog, exhale. Inhale, heels lift. Exhale, bend the knees. Gaze forward, round and ripple that energy nice and slow, one segment at a time. High plank. And slowly lower for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Belly to the floor. Oscillating cobra, untuck the toes. Inhale, press through the fingertips. Shine that heart forward. Exhale, fall. Inhale, lift. Lifting that belly button from the floor, keeping the hip bones anchored into the mat. Exhale, fall. Inhale, rise. Nice and slow. Gaze is the last thing to lift. Exhale, lower. Go ahead and bring that right arm into a goalpost position. Lift that left leg up towards the sky, keeping the leg straight, and spin the hips over towards the left as the left leg falls back behind you. Finding a little bit more length through the left side of the body, the left side of the low back, the outer lining of the left hip. And then working into the space of that right shoulder. And then go ahead and bring that left hip point back down to the earth. Tend to the right fingers. Left arm is in a goalpost position. Lift that right leg straight up towards the sky. And just open the hips up towards the right, keeping that right leg straight. Working through the outer lining of the hip, the low back, the side body, and that left shoulder. Allowing that top leg to fall heavy. To create that space within your shape. And nice and slow, bring that right hip point back down to the earth. Hands underneath shoulders. Press your hips back in space, child's pose. Allowing the low back to lengthen, the spine to lengthen, the hips to settle. Knees can come wide, or you can find a little bit more support for your torso by bringing the thighs, the inner lining of the thighs together to touch. Creating a shape that brings softness, support, and ease to your shape. Finding your breath. If you lost it along the way, just giving yourself a moment to reintegrate. And then go ahead and walk the hands back towards the knees, coming into a kneeling position, heels underneath your sit bones, clicking the heels towards one another. And allow the palms to rest onto the thighs, gaze to soften. Thank you so much for practicing with me, and I look forward to seeing y'all next time.